Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second Tech Talk, where these sessions are meant to serve as inspirational sessions, telling us about people's ideas, people's actions to help make the world a little bit more sustainable and inclusive. So again, our themes are really looking at the region in terms of sustainability for energy and climate change, data access and transparency, and as well as social justice and equality. So I think our speakers today are highlighting one of the great things about being an MIT student and being an MIT alumnus. And so without further ado, I will introduce Vick and Max. Vick graduated from MIT in 2020 with an undergraduate degree in finance. Growing up, Vick was heavily involved in Boy Scouts and spent his weekends camping in the Sierra Nevada, where he learned how to stay warm in cold weather at night. He currently serves as VP of International Sales and Operations for Hochun Medical, a biomedical manufacturing firm. In his free time, he enjoys hiking through Southern California, learning how to paint, and training to run half marathons. We also have Max, who also graduated in 2020 with an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering. His activities in college included leading winter expeditions for the Outing Club and working with the School of Engineering to produce videos about student life. Max grew up hiking and backpacking in Washington State, which taught him the value of using sleeping bags and lightweight gear. They are the founders of TravlerPack and will be sharing their story of how they started this great idea and company that's distributed more than 1,000 sleeping bags in Syria. They'll tell you more about it. So I'll leave it to them to tell you their story.
Thanks for the intro, Dana. Let's see. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Max.
Can you all see my screen?
I can see it.
Great. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Vic and I are excited to share an important part of our experience at MIT and a story that continues to this day. So when Vic and I were undergraduates at MIT, we decided to act on something we've been hearing about in the news a lot. The Syrian refugee crisis had already displaced millions of people from their homes. We were also reading that parts of the Middle East can become very cold in the winter, with temperatures dropping well below freezing. Vic and I had grown up camping, as you heard, and we knew that being cold prevented one from achieving many things, whether it's basics like staying warm, feeling secure, getting proper rest, or more growth needs like getting an education or pursuing an occupation. Those can also be affected when you can't meet those basic needs like staying warm. Now, the existing solution for staying warm for many displaced families is burning fuel, whether that be gas, wood, or really anything that can burn. The problem is that fuel is a finite resource. It can be hard to come by or expensive to acquire, and it's always running out. What's more, burning fuel in confined quarters has negative respiratory effects on human health. So with all of this in mind, Vic and I started to ask, how can we address this problem?
In the beginning, when we had thought about this initial challenge of trying to keep people warm, Max and I had come up with this, very basic solution of just a sleeping bag. We use sleeping bags a lot in our free time when we go camping, and so figured, maybe this is another product that could be useful. And so I think today what we want to do over the next few minutes is want to go over the different story, and through that story, I think highlight three different main takeaways that we have had from our experience that we really wish we had known earlier in the process. And so the first point that we want to make is, how crucial it is to have a strong support network. And I think these three initial photos do a good job of illustrating that. And so I'll first describe the photos and then go into more detail about our first point. And so For these photos, you got 3 photos. They're all of our first prototype. On the left, in the middle, on the left, you can see the first prototype while we were making it inside of our dorm. And then on the right, you can see a photo of the initial prototype when we tested it by sleeping inside of it overnight during a snowstorm. And so the bulge you see in the bag is actually myself. And so with this first prototype, we first built it inside of the dorm that I lived in, and we use the dorm as basically a workspace. The first prototype, the sewing machine that we used to sew it together, was actually lent to us by a professor who we had met on a chance encounter. And the materials that we used for the first prototype, the funding for those materials were actually given to us by an on-campus grant. And so that's a way in which how different groups within our support network helped us make this first prototype. And then we were actually able to get permission to sleep in the bag overnight on the roof for my dorm to conduct this initial test. And then from there, after the testing, we then began to think about raising money online and raising awareness. And so that's where a lot of our friends and family came in order to help spread the campaign a little bit further. And as we progressed further through this journey in raising money and distributing bags, we then relied heavily on the on-campus centers. So for example, the Public Service Center to help provide us with mentorships to help us think through how we can improve the design over time. And that leads us to our next point.
So in addition to having a network of support, another big lesson for us was that when we approach a problem like this through human-centered design and co-develop solutions with the people that will be using the bag, there's going to be way more success. And we're going to hit on really the important aspects of this design that are truly needed. So these are photos of the bag that we designed many, many iterations down the line. And it ultimately moved away from a kind of classic sleeping bag that Vic and I were familiar with growing up, and more into a multi-purpose bag or even tool to meet all sorts of needs. So as you see in some of these photos, through user feedback, we incorporated features such as pouches to store valuables and protect from the wet, the ability to zip together multiple bags to form a larger one so families can sleep together, the feature to unzip the bag and it becomes a blanket, which is more suitable in warmer weather, and other features, as you can see on the screen. So had we shipped that first prototype Vic was showing you in the last slide, and just said, here's a solution we've come up with, we hope it works, we would have essentially been saying, we know what's best here. And we really did not know. And so instead, by going through kind of this human-centered design approach, speaking with nonprofits operating on the ground, we have 2 incredible partners, New Day Syria and the Kayani Foundation, talking with people who work on the ground every day, conducting user interviews, and going through many design iterations, we really landed on something that we could not have possibly envisioned to start with, but ultimately a much better solution for this particular problem. And another key lesson that was humbling was that it's important to not be afraid to toss out any ideas, no matter how cherished they are in the beginning. So for example, I mean, just a very basic one was we spent easily weeks coming up with a logo, and then down the line had put that on all of our bags and realized, our branding is less important at this time than just like getting the bags out there. And so we removed the logo and added our name so that at least people could search our idea and project online. And another one was in this right photo, a shoulder strap was not something we initially had thought of. we were thinking it could either go into a backpack, as Vic and I often do when we are camping, or we were thinking it could go on kind of your back, like in replacement of a backpack. But we soon learned that people displaced from their homes already have backpacks and are already carrying a lot. And so something as simple as a shoulder strap enables people carrying these bags to keep their hands free while also maintaining the backpack. So to this day, we still see every distribution we do as an opportunity to keep improving the bag, because there's always, ways to do that and better align with the real needs that are out there.
Yeah, so Max spoke briefly about our two nonprofit partners, New Day Syria and the Kayani Foundation, and I think we really just want to take this time to highlight and just emphasize how important we found it to have, strong relationships with organizations on the ground. I think at the most basic level, they provided a lot of local logistics. So, how do we get the bags into Lebanon? How do we get them into Syria? But also more importantly, helped us with a lot of the distribution, right? So figuring out, who should we give the bags to based on their need, and also just the local connections that would have taken us really, years to develop on our own. And so, highly recommend, or something that we learned that was so important was just making sure that we have those type of connections with organizations on the ground. As Max mentioned earlier, another role that they played for us was helping us interview, people who were going to use our bags, as well as interview people that had received our bags, not only immediately after they received the bags, but also, doing some follow-up interviews a few months afterwards, just so we could get that feedback in order to then sort of catalyze these next rounds of redesign of the bag. So yeah, really couldn't have done it without these two partners, and have a lot of, we're very, very grateful for the work that we've done with them so far.
And so today, we've seen some really exciting impact. We've distributed 1,350 bags in Syria and Lebanon with the support of New Day Syria and the Kayani Foundation. And just this year, Vic and I are wrapping up a fundraising campaign. So far, we've raised $116,000, which is enough to send 2,000 more bags to Idlib, Syria, to be distributed by New Day. And if you would like to learn more about this initiative and our work, you can go to launchgood.com/TravlerPack to learn more or donate to the campaign. We've managed to really minimize the cost. So each bag is about $65, and that can help a family stay warm. So in summary, these are the key takeaways that Vic and I, upon reflection, feel that have really brought a lot of success to our project. And we're happy that you're all here, and thank you for attending.
Thank you to the founders of TravlerPack for sharing your inspiring story. I think it's great to see how things progress from just an idea and wanting to make a difference to actually making an impact.